Primetime News with Israel Lai.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's Primetime Bulletin here on the Joy News channel. Coming up, Parliament gets set to host President John Mahama for the delivery of his State of the Nation address. Minority MPs have indicated they will be in the chamber but remain passive observers, even though some members of the party hierarchy wished they completely stayed away. Commercial transport operators using LPG as fuel appear unfazed by sharp increase in the price of the...
We are suffering, especially parents. The school fees. I myself am suffering.
I expect the president here to talk about the energy problem, and then also the water crisis should be solved. I think honestly, after 50 years or 56 years of independence, we are still grappling with the supply of good water, drinking water to the populace. I think it's unfortunate.
I expect the government to tackle the problem of unemployment with the youth. There are so many youth coming out each year, graduates, masters, and there is no job. If the government can do something about the jobs, I think he has to put that in his address.
Joy News has been speaking to members of the general public about the expectations here in Accra, which appear to be about the economy.
To see particularly his government policy on agric, because that is about 70% of Ghanaians depend on agric. We also want to hear about the MDGs, how far, particularly MDG 4 and 5. I'm a health worker, so I'm interested in hearing about the MDG 4 and 5, that is for maternal health and child health. How far and where we have gotten to and what government is doing, to attain that by the year 2015.
I'm expecting that he talk about unifying the people, and then how the petrol price is going on. You have to tell us what is going to use that money for.
Okay, I'm expecting him to talk about two major things. One is about the fuel prices, and then the other one is about the incessant fluctuation or outage of power in the country. In fact, it is affecting us seriously.
So I'm expecting the government to talk much about the education, that is the high school level. We know 2 batches are going to complete this year, and it's not going to be easy. I've not seen any expanding of structures over here, and we are going to take more than we used to take. So I think we should expand our capacity to take more students.
So I'm expecting him to address certain vital issues that have been ongoing, and I know he's aware, stuff that are ongoing in universities, and stuff especially in his cabinet offices.
Well, nothing different. In the past, it has always been the same. State of Nation addresses are always there. Every year we'll get a State of the Nation address.
Right, so whatever your expectations are, send us a tweet or post on our Facebook wall and we'll bring them to you at the end of the bulletin. Now, some disagreement today emerged between minority MPs and the party leadership on the latest phase of their boycott of the Mahama administration. President Mahama, as you just heard, is due in Parliament tomorrow to deliver his State of the Nation address. While the MPs say they will be in the House for the address, the New Patriotic Party insists there will be a total boycott. Meanwhile, MPs from both sides are anticipating the address, but the minority say they wonder how the president will justify the recent fuel increase and load shedding of electricity.
Minority leader Osei Chairman Sabunsu says minority MPs will be seated in the chamber but will not confirm whether they would participate in proceedings.
Come there, you see them sitting on their seats.
Are they going to participate in the proceedings?
How do you participate in proceedings? They sit in their chairs. As simple as that.
The party's general secretary, however, has a different understanding of the boycott decision.
We as a party have a principled position. And our position is that any matter that does not outlive John Dramani Mahama would not be attended to. And all these matters are transient. And therefore, for us, we would have to examine whether or not after the Supreme Court decision and then Nana Akufo-Addo becomes the president of Ghana, another State of the Nation address, a proper one, would be delivered by Nana Akufo-Addo. If that is so, then it appears to me that our principle would work to perfection. We shall not attend any matter that has to do with the presidency that is not permanent.
There were some minority MPs who were generally of the opinion the address was needless because they said the president had nothing new to offer.
The Frenchman would say, déjà vu, the same old stock, the same old story. Nothing new is going to change. But the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what is the state of the economy? How are Ghanaians feeling it? The better Ghana agenda that he's all talking about, they should go to the streets and ask the good people of this country whether they are really feeling the better Ghana slogan that they are talking about. Well, it is 1 before 2. Today is Wednesday. It's not yet Thursday, so we cannot confirm whether boycott or no boycott. But in any case, boycott is part of parliamentary business. It is allowed, it is done.
I don't expect anything new. The usual political rhetorics, because if as it is now, a country Ghana, we don't have power. Fuel prices have been increased astronomically. And just tomorrow, the president is coming to present in the State of the Nation's address. I don't see anything new.
Some question the rationale behind the address following the recent increases in fuel prices and the power crisis.
Now look at what is happening in this country. Shortage of water, shortage of fuel, shortage of gas, a whole lot of things. The economy is in total shambles. We are in deep crisis in this country. So I don't know what at all the president is coming to offer us tomorrow. It's the same old story, the usual rhetoric, that is all.
Members of the majority, however, remain hopeful the president will restore hope for Ghanaians.
I think it will be very useful for all of us to give particular attention to President Mahama's first State of the Nation address. The one he gave last time was to wrap up the work of President Mills. Now it's going to be his own. So his vision, his aspirations for the enhancement of the Better Ghana agenda will be laid out tomorrow.
It's certainly going to reflect the vision of His Excellency the President with regards to the state. I wouldn't be in the position to know what certainly he's going to say, but those I believe within the inner circle of the executive leadership would have a fair idea. But what I can only project is that he certainly would talk about the political environment. He would talk about his vision, what he thinks that the state of the nation is. Naturally, we have challenges with regards to energy now. I believe that he would touch on that. He would also talk about his programs for the year, and I have no doubt in mind that the good people of this country would love it.
That the president, as his usual self, is going to deliver to us as a nation the state of the nation on various issues. I expect that he talks about the security of the nation, because every nation's development will depend on our security. If there's no security, we can't also develop. And I expect that he talks about energy, and all its accessories, if you want to put it. I expect that he addresses issues on agriculture, and I expect that he addresses issues on employment, the youth, and many more.
Now, the very latest we're getting on this seeming conflict between the minority MPs and the party hierarchy is about the boycott tomorrow, is that the MPs will be in the chamber but depart immediately the president comes in to start a State of the Nation address. But we'll be watching, we'll see how it all pans out tomorrow. Meanwhile, preparations are underway for the State of the Nation address. This will be President John Mahama's first State of the Nation address since he was sworn into office as the 4th President of the 4th Republic last month.
As host, Parliament seems to be doing its best to ensure the president feels welcome. Painters were spotted at the entrance and forecourt of the House, applying fresh paint and arranging flowers. Workers of Zoom Lion were also seen busily scrubbing the stairs leading to the main entrance. The president is expected to inspect a guard of honor before his delivery, and the naval officers do not intend to disappoint.
Parliament has paid glowing tribute to the late Volta Regional Minister Henry Ford KAMEL. Members from both the majority and minority side described the late minister as an astute politician, a man of peace and a unifier. The late Member of Parliament for the Buem constituency in the Volta region will be buried this weekend.
Members from both the majority and minority side of the House did not spare the moment to share their fondest memories of the late Volta Regional Minister.
Now the Liberals' task is over. Now the battle day is past. Now upon the further shore lands the voyager at last. Indeed, Honorable KAMEL was not just a man of few words, but also as a peace-loving man who sought to get along with others.
Many described him as a man of peace.
Mr. Speaker, I was not too close to the Honorable Member for Buem, the late Henry Ford KAMEL. However, in my relationship with him as colleagues, I found him to be gentleman, caring, and even as a politician, quite even-handed.
He was a good man, full of life, vibrant life at that. Unfortunately, this vibrant life was cut short on Christmas Day by the icy hands of death.
Earlier, Member of Parliament for Domekwabenya Adjasafo expressed grave concern about the increasing spate of waste disposal in her constituency and the resulting health implications. She tasked government to take a second look at the issue of landfill sites whilst calling for the promulgation of a national waste law to see to the effective disposal of both liquid and solid waste.
Now, which of these do you think is the worst offense a driver can commit? Talking on a mobile phone or texting while driving? Well, both offenses carry the same penalty under the latest road traffic regulation, LI 2180. And soon, drivers pulled over for handling a mobile handset whilst driving will be slapped with a spot fine.
Mobile phones have become a very essential part of our everyday lives. Both young and old have become so addicted to the use of phones that it's almost impossible for one to go a day without them. Some people are so fond of this small gadget that they go the extra mile to use it for different purposes whilst driving. But Section 107, subsection 1 of the latest road traffic regulation, LI 2180, bars drivers from using phones for any purpose when driving, as it distracts the driver's attention.
The law is supposed to allow drivers to have firm control over the vehicles that they are driving. And we are all aware that your two hands should be holding the steering wheel. So if you are trying to text, it means that one hand is going to handle the steering wheel. And in case of any emergency, you'll be found wanting. So the law prevents anybody from texting.
The full enforcement of the legislative instrument was put on hold after it was passed by Parliament last year to enable the police MTTU carry out education programs. The education is now over, and the commander of the police MTTU, ACP Awuni, says his men have started implementing the law.
Our rounds indicated a lot of them did not know much about it, especially the drivers. And we did not just end up in the classroom, we went to the lorry parks to let them also feel a part of, because you cannot get drivers at the classroom, they will not come to the classroom. So we decided to go to the lorry parks and engage them. And so far, I think that even passengers were so enthused that this law has come because they believe that this law is going to help them, at least to prevent them from losing their lives.
The law, however, makes room for some law enforcement agents to use their mobile phones whilst driving.
The law allows a certain category of workers to be exempted from the use of this law. It says that a fire service officer can drive and use a phone, A police officer on duty can drive or use a phone. An ambulance driver. I mean, certain categories of law enforcement agents are clearly out of it.
Some drivers Joy News spoke to said they were in favor of the full implementation of the law.
A few months ago, I witnessed a man who lost his life as a result of texting on the Ashale-Boche Road. He veered into a valley and crashed his car and subsequently, lost his life. So I think as much as we are all guilty of doing it, it's good to have some sort of laws that enforce that on human beings, because when those laws aren't enforced, we end up doing things that we are not supposed to do.
If the car has a Bluetooth and you can use the Bluetooth in the car without using one hand to drive and another hand on phone, that one I think is not good. So if we can ban that one, it's good. But if the person is using, let me say, a hands-free on 1 year and then the phone also in the car, that one is okay. By banning it, I think it's a little harsh.
Some of us use, earpiece. But when you use earpiece, though, it's okay, but it's not all that good because your attention is concentrating on the call that you are making. You are not totally, your mind will never concentrate on the driving. So you may go and hit somebody or you may branch into someone's lane and the person will get into you.
Anyone pulled over for the offense is liable to a fine of not less than 50 penalty units or a prison term not exceeding 3 months or both. ACP Awuni is therefore advising drivers to desist from using hands-free devices as they equally compete with the driver's attention.
Now, weeks of investigations by Joy News have uncovered what is feared to be systematic fraud perpetrated by a well-coordinated network of corrupt NYP officials. Documents available suggest these corrupt officials operate bank accounts and are backed by top government officials who ensure they escape prosecution. The National Youth Employment Program was initiated to help tackle the overwhelming unemployment situation, but is this goal being achieved? GJA Journalist of the Year Manasseh Awuni has been on the beat and reports in a series titled Youth Employment Mafia.
A document I intercepted in the course of this investigation reveals other fraudulent deals in the NYEP. For instance, in the Secretary South district of the Ashanti region, the payroll contained over 100 beneficiaries whose names appeared twice. Though NYEP officials cannot open bank accounts without authorization from the Controller and Accountant General's Department, I discovered this directive is circumvented by district coordinators who managed to come out with shadowy accounts into which funds are siphoned and later withdrawn with the connivance of bank officials. A document in my possession reveals one such account opened at the Pankrono branch of the Komfo-Anokye Rural Bank in Kumasi by the Kwabre East District Coordinator Bismarck Edu Ansre and his deputy Abdullahi Badaru. A letter from an anonymous official at the NYEP headquarters then instructed the bank to pay 120,000 Ghana cedis into the account. A similar act took place at the Aguna branch of the Komfo-Anokye Rural Bank. Copies of checks, bank statements, and a letter which forged the signature of Abuga Pele in my possession shows that an amount of 23,000 Ghana cedis was successfully withdrawn from the account. Abuga Pele says the transaction involved some senior officials at the headquarters.
The senior officers were alleged to be Tapsoba, Omar, who is the regional coordinator. Tapsoba is the second deputy national coordinator. Omar, who is the regional coordinator. Mr. Osborne, who is a deputy national coordinator.
Most of the officials implicated in the scandal refused comments when I approached them in the course of these investigations. Others, however, admitted some roles.
The convent attached to the Mata Ecclesia School at Sokode near Ho has been gutted by fire. The fire started before 10 a.m. this morning but could not spread to the basic or SHS department.
The fire, which started around 9:20 a.m. Wednesday morning, destroyed properties running into thousands of Ghana cedis before personnel from the fire service arrived at the scene. A 3-bedroom house, toilets, bathhouses, a kitchen, storeroom, dining hall, library and archives belonging to the school were all destroyed in the blaze. Reverend Sister Peace Omes is the principal of the school.
Around 9:24, 9:20, yeah.
I heard crying and wailing. So I asked what was happening. They said there's fire coming out from the one of the room where they are living. So I went around and I saw that there was smoke coming from the room. So immediately I called the fire service.
PRO of the Volta Regional Fire Service, Franklin Phillips Masiku, says the exact cause of the fire has not been established. Preliminary investigations, however, suggest an electrical gadget may have sparked the fire.
From our preliminary investigations, the room where the fire started, there was nobody in that room. That is where our difficulty is. That portends that someone must have left something unattended to, perhaps electrical item. That is where the source of the fire must come from.
Though the damage caused by the fire is colossal, no casualties were recorded. Komla Ado's report for Joy News.
An anti-fuel smuggling task force has been formed in the Upper West region to help put a stop to the smuggling of fuel into neighboring countries. The task force is made up of 50 members drawn from the police, customs, military and immigration services and chaired by the Upper West Regional Police Commander. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
The well-attended meeting was to inform the managers of the various fuel filling stations about government's plans to put a stop to fuel smuggling, as well as offer them a platform to table their challenges. Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Police Service for the region, ASP Edmond Nyameche, shed more light on the meeting.
We are bent on our OS to check on smuggling of fuel to neighboring countries in the region. Today's meeting was occasioned as a result of a committee being set up to check smuggling of fuel to neighboring countries. The committee is codenamed Anti-Fuel Smuggling Task Force, otherwise known as Operation Hunter.
The regional commander, DCOP Kofi Danso Adai Ichampong, told the managers they will not countenance the sale of fuel on drums or jelly cans. This, however, drew protest from the station managers.
They are dependent on us. Some of them will come to us, we supply them, they will go and sit there, also be selling to the small motorbikes. And then during the rain season times, these people, because there's no filling station there, the tractors over there, they will come and take it in drums to go there. But looking from here to that place, there's no any border counter at that place.
DCOP Adai Champon then explained the rationale for the anti-fuel smuggling task force to be inaugurated.
So if the tanker comes, let the tanker go there, offload into the surface tank. But don't sell in drums or jerry cans. If you do that, it will be arrested.
But some of the fuel station managers told Joy News off camera the formation of the task force is an ad hoc measure which will not bring any better results except to worsen the plight of those in the hinterlands. Meanwhile, the Wa municipality has been hit by a shortage of diesel in the last few days, with all 13 fuel filling stations currently out of stock. This has severely disrupted commercial activity, with many vehicle owners abandoning their vehicles at the filling stations in the hope that they get to be served once a consignment arrives.
The CLEG is calling for reform in Ghana's educational system to make students more competitive globally. The former host of Multi-TV's current affairs show PM Express made the call at the launch of his first book, 10 Strategies for Making Top Grades at the University, here in Accra.
Students tips on how to be at the peak of their academics, especially at the university level, recounting instances where students are denied admission to pursue further studies or attend prestigious institutions of higher learning as a result of poor grades. Ni Ade said he was challenged to put his experience at the disposal of other students.
The young people must begin to take our destiny into our own hands and shine. So I've written a book that will speak to an engineering student, it will speak to a literature student, it will speak to a rocket science student. It's about strategies, it's about your approach, it's about how you capture yourselves and do things to look for the next higher qualification in your life. And in doing so, this is how to go about it. So you rise, you become better than yourself.
He also called for a proper institutionalized system to help Ghanaian students match up to their contemporaries in other countries.
there are certain standards that they expect. You see what I mean? There are people who do all manner of things, and we are not dealing just with ourselves. So I think that the system should go back at looking at how we can internationalize it. If you want to keep the current system, make it international, make it recognized. If you want to go back to the old system, change it, not exactly how it used to be, but make it in a way that fits the modern era, that makes it me recognized and respected anywhere in the world, that can make me walk into any institution of higher learning anywhere in the world, or fit into any position in the world.
Chancellor of the Central University College, Dr. Mensah Otabel, commended the author and expressed the hope that students who come across the book will make maximum use of the ideas contained in it.
Up next, we bring you business news. It appears the objective for the recent sharp increase in the price of LPG may not be achieved after all. Government, following criticisms that the 50% increase will force domestic consumers of the product to resort to using charcoal and wood fuel, explained it was to check abuse of the product by commercial transport operators. But some taxi and trotro drivers Joy News has been speaking to say they don't intend to stop using LPG despite the increase. Meanwhile, restaurant owners who rely solely on gas as a cooking fuel are upset about the current shortage they say has persisted for too long.
The restaurant operators especially complained they have had difficulty in sourcing LPG for close to 2 weeks now. At the Kokote Chop Bar at Dome, the operators say they have had to abandon their gas stoves for firewood. They add they have already strategized how to accommodate the sharp increase in the LPG price.
Because of gas affected ntino edera yebeti ansaso entime ntena kese beboka
tisi ayese usu gas ne kura na usuro odi no ansuo mo fra no kura sore na sa wo no mo no ansuo adware kura na yese akoye nse bebre sense o man mu ayeden nti to matum na ha adwen.
The commercial transport operators are also feeling the pinch, especially the taxi and mini Kia truck drivers. They are, however, unfazed and insist on using LPG as their main fuel despite the sharp increase and acute shortage. These drivers, whose cars are stuck in the queue, say they've been here for a week because of the shortage.
In fact, when you see gas, cars of gas, I'm not here too. We're in the car by the fabric gas. After the gas, you be there, since I'm be 1 week in it. You the house, I won't cry with you, and I pay you be declared. Into your gas is because now for the useless.
Taxi drivers who were willing to pay 40 Ghana cedis for this 14 kg bottle could, however, get the gas for their cars. The 14 kg bottle would normally go for about 28 cedis after the increase. The transport and food joint operators are meanwhile calling for government's intervention to end the shortage.
Traders who have set up shop along the fringes of the Medina-Denta Highway have up to March 1 to relocate. The order from the Lankwantanang Medina Municipal Assembly is to allow construction works to continue.
The Medina Zongo Junction has for some time now taken on the look of a mini market. Although some of the traders sit very close to the main road, they have defied several calls to join their colleague traders in the Medina market. Some of them have argued there's no space for them to trade in the market. In an interview with Joy News, the Municipal Chief Executive for the Lankwantanang Medina Assembly, Franklin Anku, said the traders should have a grace period up to next week to relocate.
Hopefully, first week in March, they should be off. So they move voluntarily, or we go in over there and, in quotes, dislocate them. A van on the street now, making announcements, informing them that on so and so date is the deadline, you're supposed to leave so that we can have our peace.
He dismissed suggestions by some traders that the assembly had directed them to the Ogbojo New Market area, noting the area is not under their jurisdiction. According to him, the assembly is building a new market at the Medina New Road to accommodate the traders.
Most of them are coming from Kasua, Abekala Pass, other areas, just to come and do their business and then generate refuse for us. And then the assembly goes in, collecting. And the amount that is taken off our common fund every quarter. Tell my revenue collectors not to go collecting anything from those who are, hawking on the streets, because immediately we do so. That means that we are trying to legitimize their stay. And I actually spoke against it. I've directed them not to do.
The countdown is now on for the Medina Assembly to fulfill its promise to the traders by ensuring that the new market is ready by March 1.
Now, President John Mahama has assured his government is working hard to ensure there is no more load shedding at the end of 2013. He gave the pledge when he swore in members of the Council of State at the Flagstaff House.
We had to shut down 2 plants. Sonan Asogli shut down, and one of our VRA plants shut down because gas was not available. We had expected that the West African gas pipeline would be back on stream before the end of last year. Unfortunately, because of an accident that occurred in which 2 engineers were killed, they had to suspend the work that they were doing. The understanding is that the work has resumed, and hopefully by end of April, the West African gas pipeline should be back on stream. And I said hopefully. The plant we started working on in Takrady, which we call the T3, that generates about 120 megawatts, will come on stream before the end of February. And so if that comes on stream, we should have 120 megawatts into the system. In addition, we're expecting the Bui Hydro Project's first turbine to come on in April, and that will bring another 133 megawatts. And so the combined T3 and Bui turbine 1 should give us something in the region of 250 megawatts, and that should reduce the deficit that we have and most likely reduce the load shedding to the barest minimum. If the West African gas pipeline comes on in April, then Asogli can come back on, and that will bring another 220 megawatts into the system immediately and give us more than enough that we need. And so I wish to assure people of Ghana that we're working very hard to reduce the load shedding. I'm as uncomfortable with it as everybody else is, and I'll do everything possible to make sure that we end the load shedding by the middle of the year. I still stick to my promise that by end of 2013, there will be no load shedding.
Right, we have some smart investment tips coming up next. Well, in some other news to wrap up business, Bulgaria's government has announced it is resigning after nationwide protests against high electricity prices and austerity measures. Prime Minister Boyko Borisov has said. The Prime Minister said he had decided to go after protesters against rising electricity prices. Some of the comments you have posted on Facebook. We start with Owusu Emmanuel. He says, hope the State of the Nation address should focus on the energy crisis. Kaba Nelson Sibke says, Ghana, we know how to make laws, but we don't know how to implement them. And then Edem Kwame Kudo says, all we need is 24/7 water and electricity in our various homes and workplaces. Enough of the long grammar. And El Shaddai Daniel, I hope the State of the Nation address will focus on education and health. So that's it for the bulletin. Before we go, a quick run through Our top stories: Parliament gets set to host President John Mahama for the delivery of the State of the Nation address tomorrow. Minority MPs have indicated they will be in the chamber but remain passive observers, even though some members of their party hierarchy wish they completely stayed away. Commercial transport operators using LPG as well appear unfazed by the sharp increase in the price of the commodity. Now, if you text and drive, they warn you may be slapped with a spot fine. All right, and coming up next is PM Express with Stephen Anti. Do stay tuned.